Well, hi. Thank you for joining us for the second Industry Talks Back to Business. Today's event is hosted by SEMA Business Women's Network, and the topic is the realities of returning to work. During this hour, you will hear from our industry panelists discuss strategies that they have implemented within their businesses that have guided them through the realities of opening, bringing back their employees, and maintaining the work-life balance in an unprecedented environment. The topics that we will discuss today are meant for informational purposes only. Before you make any HR-related decisions, it's best to consult with your HR provider. I'm pleased to be your host today. My name is Rebecca Olavarrieta. I'm from Rocco 4x4, and I currently serve on the SBN Select Committee. I will be posing predetermined questions and the conversation topics to our panelists throughout our time together. However, we would love to answer some of your questions today. So you can submit your questions or suggested conversation topics by entering them into the question box within your dashboard on your screen, and we will try to address as many questions as time permits. Before we begin, I want to quickly share some numbers with you that indicate a positive and strong outlook for our industry staffing. These stats come from a recent SEMA market research survey. Number one is only a fraction of our industry companies laid off or furloughed their workforce during the March-April period. The vast majority of companies that laid off or furloughed workers plan on rehiring them. In June, 14% of our companies plan on hiring new staff, and 5% said that they would increase their workers' salary. Almost 70% of companies expect to have the same staff level or even increase staff at the end of 2020. And in June, 41% of our industry companies plan on adding measures to increase employee or customer safety. Now, let's begin to get to know our panelists. We have Lacey Little from DC. Let's see if technology works for us today.
Hi,
Lacey.
Hi, I'm Lacey. I'm with DZ. I've been with our company for about 10 years now. I've held a lot of different roles, but all within the HR realm. So DZ is a company. We're located in the Des Moines area. We have several different buildings, and we make truck accessories like roof rails, toolboxes, running boards, liquid transfer tanks, and we employ a little under 1,000 employees.
Great, thank you for joining us today. We also have Kim Pendergrass. Let's see if we can get Kim to be here with us.
It's taking a moment, isn't it?
Oh, I can hear you, Kim.
Okay. So I don't know if you can see me yet, but I will. I'll start introducing myself. I am based in California. I'm the CEO of Magnuson Superchargers, and I'm also recently have been an addition to the SEMA board. And I want to thank you for including me today, Rebecca.
Thank you so much for joining us. We also have Melanie White from Helbig Products.
Hi, I'm Melanie White, President, CEO of Helbig Products. We are based here in California, and we manufacture suspension components, load and sway control products. And I am a part of the SEMA board, as well as SEMA. I'm chair of SEMA Cares.
Great, thank you for volunteering. And we have Rich Borsamian from ACT.
Hello.
There you
Hi,
are.
everybody. I am Rich Borsamian, and you're not. No, I am Rich Borsamian. I am the VP of Sales and Marketing for Advanced Clutch Technology. I don't know why I'm reading that. I pretty much know it. We are located in Southern California, about an hour north of Los Angeles, and we are about 40 a little over 40 employees that we have here. I am currently the immediate past chair of SEMA Cares, and just recently inducted into the SEMA Hall of Fame, which I am extremely honored and grateful for. So Yay.
We have an offer here.
I'm an offer or an HOFer. You can do that too. I think I don't know what that means. That's what they call me here. They go, there's that HOFer.
Well, thank you all for volunteering your time today and volunteering all aspects of SEMA. It's unprecedented times, and we don't know what the future beholds, but we want to learn a little bit about what each of you have done, and hopefully our guests can learn something new today. And we'll be taking questions at the end, so remember to submit your questions. And let's get started with our topics for today. So what's the status of each of your companies today? You know, is your staff working from home, modified scheduling, they're back full time? Lacey, I'll start with you since DC seems to have the largest workforce.
Yeah, so we are in Des Moines, so we never had like a citywide stay-in-place order. But our company did have a couple month furlough for a majority of our workforce, probably about 80% in some areas. So for about 2 months, some of our employees were furloughed, and we were temporarily closed during that time. With the production team, as you know, their work doesn't really allow for them to work from home. So we've increased a lot of our communication, and then changed a lot of our processes and our procedures to go with the new guidelines to help instill that confidence for working in the workplace. I'm sure we'll probably talk about that more later, but for some individuals where the work does allow for these employees to work from home, they have worked from home, and it has continued for some, but I think slowly, as we continue to try to get back to the new normal, people are working their way back into the office.
Great.
To accommodate those as we can.
So it started as a furlough, but most of the staff it's back to work in some form, whether from home or in the office.
Yeah.
What about you, Melanie? What's the status today for Hellwig?
Yeah, so we're in California, so we have had the stay-at-home orders here in the state a couple different times. Monday starting again. Luckily, Hellwig is an essential business, and we have been running the whole time. But that doesn't mean we've all been there either. We're the same as Lacey. We have to be there to get the work done, but the folks that have to be there, we've been really cautious to try to protect them. So those of us that can work from home, work from home. I'm continuing to work from home. You know, what we realized right in the beginning was this was a numbers game. You know, the less people that you were exposed to, the less likely you would be able to get it. And so we just thought, like, how can we limit the amount of people coming into our building? And some of that is, you know, folks working from home. So we really wanted to protect our frontline folks who were having to show up every day and serve our customers. So that's how we approached it.
That's great. What about you, Rich? ACT back in the office?
Yes. So during that initial phase, we had some employees that took 2 weeks off just to be with their families and be safe. When it was first announced, we too are deemed an essential business. We've got military contracts and that kind of a thing. So, but we did the same thing where our IT director did an incredible job of getting our team remote immediately for customer service, sales, and tech support. And the biggest hurdle we had was we have an old phone system. So he was able to obtain 2 VoIP phones and then send them out to some of the different employees that were working remote so we could answer phones. And that was really useful because in the beginning, all we were doing was live chat and email. They were spending a lot of time on live chat where they could have just picked up a phone and been done in 2 seconds. So yeah, so we're here and making stuff, and yeah.
So now that we hear that most of the employees are back, I want to go to the next slide, and I want to talk about what steps companies are taking to instill confidence as staff returns. Kim, tell us a little bit about what the status of Magnuson staffing looks like at the moment.
It's a mix. Our operating people were always there. We were an essential business. We do armored vehicles for the government. And so we've been working throughout, primarily the production people. We were really already prepared with most people having the flexibility, even our clerical staff, from working from home. We had a very strong IT platform with Citrix, so that was relatively easy. And what we've done, and we're much smaller than, say, a DZ, but what we've done is tried to take the individual situations and where we can be flexible for those particular individuals. So if you have a spouse, a husband, someone who is particularly vulnerable and you want to work from home, then you can work from home. But most people have either wanted to work from home, and we've allowed that because because we were set up for it, or they wanted to come in. We actually, this gets ahead of you, but we had one woman who we immediately gave, within 3 days before the lockdown, we gave her a computer to work from home, and she said, "Oh, please, I can't stand it. I'm 5 minutes from here. I want to come in the morning and work and then go home in the middle of the day, and then I'll go back and face my kids again, but I can't do it all day long." So we've tried to be flexible with different people. And one of the things I did during the time, and I am back in Connecticut now, but which is where my home is, but I didn't leave from the time of the lockdown in March until a few weeks ago, just sort of be the general, if you will, that was there every day, because a good portion of our leadership team is remote already, working from various parts of the country.
Great. So, Melanie, you want to share a little bit about how you ensure that confidence in your labor force?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this was also in the beginning realized like this is going to be an intense time. It's intense for everyone. There's a lot unknown, and we had to be communicating and communicating often. So while I'm not in the office every day, I am in the office at least once a week, and I start at 5 o'clock with our huddles. So every time we now have like staggering shifts starting, way more than we've ever had before. But we have a 5 o'clock, a 6 o'clock, a 7, and an 8. So I go in and I'm there at every huddle. So if there's any new information, we're sharing it there. If there's any questions, I'm available. And there's some things that we just don't know. And so it's hard to, be the leader and show up and say, yeah, I don't know that. But we'll find it out. And so it's just, we're finding things out slowly, and we're communicating just as much as we can. So I really just feel like I've never been closer or more connected or thinking about our team than I have been right now. And I think that's one thing I'm actually like grateful about these challenging times, is that, I feel more connected to our team just because of our communication plan. And if I'm not there, the other days we have management executive teams that come in and are there for the huddles as well. So we sort of are trying to over communicate and be over available right now.
And I'm sure the labor force responds positive to that. So just opening those lines of communication seems to be working for everybody. I'm going to go to the next question. What resources have been the most helpful in guiding your employees through these times? Rich, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so probably the biggest resource we've used is the guidelines from the CDC. And we have an HR manager, and he has done an incredible job of working with an outside company just to guide us, because these are unprecedented times and there are a lot of things you need to be very careful of. So in conjunction with working with an outside third party and just following the CDC, that has been the most helpful to us.
Thank you for that. Lacey, anything in particular with your experience in HR that, other companies can take a look at aside from the CDC?
Could you repeat the question?
So we're trying to figure out what resources you've been using. So Rich mentioned the CDC. Are there any other resources in your HR experience that could be useful for companies that are our guests today?
Yeah, I definitely agree. The CDC has been a primary one for us in talking with employees and making recommendations for if you are sick, how to handle that. In addition to the World Health Organization, the travel advice that's there, OSHA, communication for sure has been really important. I know we have used some of the printouts on the CDC website and the translation services that are there with the handouts in different languages for our employees and team members. And then also an EAP system. So, if you have employees who are fearful or who have stress related to all that's going on in the world right now, it's a really good resource because we may not always have the answers. They have experts that can help with those things or guide them in the right direction. So we were very fortunate early on to share a lot of that information with the employees and guide them through different steps about what was happening, different resources that they could utilize to gather that on their own for their personal life, but also what we were doing as a workplace, following those different guidelines through OSHA and CDC.
Great. Melanie, you want to share some of the resources that have been helpful for you?
I think one of the things that's happening with this situation is that there are just so many resources available, and it's almost like was so much in the beginning that was being thrown at us. I know SEMA has a great website and has a lot of good information. I know we have a local HR attorney that has been putting on a great seminars or webinars, not seminars because we're not going anywhere, but those are areas that we were focusing. So there were so many others available. I think what we did was we kind of decided like we're going to follow CDC, we're going to help have our HR attorney, we're going to listen to her webinar, so she is helping us, kind of filter through the information that the CDC, OSHA, everyone is recommending. So in the beginning, we were just like, we know that she does a great job, that's where we're going to go, because there just is so much information available. So I think that's one of the kind of challenging things is that, there's almost an overwhelm of that right now. So just picking a few sources to follow is important.
Right. That's right. I agree. Having, like one source that you choose, it usually helps because that way you're not getting misdirection to your staff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the next question. Do you find that some staff members are requesting to remain at home, and how are each of you handling that? Rich, I'm gonna go to you for this question.
So for us, it was actually kind of the opposite. It was sort of what Kim was explaining. We had people that just wanted to get back to work, and when they were working remote, we've got screenshots. We're auditing to make sure the quality of work is there and that they're doing their time and everything is good. And we understand that things are different when people work from home, but I can say my team, they worked more than ever. Probably got a lot more work done during that time period than normal. There's a lot less chit chat. That includes this guy, and stuff like that. So really, what we saw is I actually had to go to the IT director and say, you need to limit the hours. I had people going back on at night, 10, 11 o'clock at night, working away. You could see them doing this work, and then they'd go to sleep and get right back up and start again. I'm like, no, you need a break. You know, you need a break. Don't. Well, I'm bored. I got nothing to do here at home. You know, get a jigsaw puzzle, do something, find something to do, but get away from work for a little while. You know, so that's been it for us. We only have one person who has remained remote during this time, just for some health concerns that he has. And other than that, most everybody has wanted to get back in here. It was like when we did get back in here, the feeling was, this is work. This is where work happens. This is the office, you know, and home is where our personal lives are. So those were the two differences we really saw.
That's awesome. What about you, Kim? You already had a lot of stuff set up to have people work from home. Did you have an increase of staff that requested to work from home?
You mean now?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. And I think there was the short period of time where you could make it work with your kids. I think it was a little crazy. I think all teachers are going to get a raise after parents find out what it's like to try to teach their own kids at home. But I think now that we're going back to fall and it may be online, I think that it's a whole nother level. It's no longer a temporary thing. It's sort of a medium term issue. And we may see some people who need to work from home for that reason. And we're pretty much set up to do that. So they'll be either for kids or for health reasons that, or if someone obviously thinks they might have been around someone who had COVID, whether they have it or not, obviously we ask them to stay home and stay quarantined for a period of time. But except for the people that are actually running machines or putting production people, as I think Melanie said, I think our people are almost more productive from home. But I just want to be cautious on that, because I think it's true now because people don't have other things to do, and their customers and the people whom they're dealing with don't have other things to do. But I think when we really get back to normal, there will be a lot of conflict when you're at home, and it may not be as productive as it is now. So I think the jury is out on long-term having people work from home full-time, but I think it's true that you can certainly do a hybrid mix of that and have it effective for the person's personal needs and the company needs.
That's great. That Rich, you want to share something else on this topic?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add to that was that one of the things that we struggle with when we work remote is there's a lot of stuff, that activity that's going around in the factory, that when you're here, we can get a lot more things accomplished and done. And it feels like that communication when someone's out on the line working and you can't talk to them or know some certain concerns they have in terms of tech customer service, there's nothing better than being on site, you know. So I totally agree with Kim. The jury's out, but I can tell you that has been a struggle for us when we do work remote, and a frustration, because then, you know, it's trying to get stuff done.
I'm going to move to the next question, so we have some time at the end to answer questions from our audience. What's your advice for companies who are challenged to make up for lost business opportunity during the shutdown, perhaps even with less staff? Melanie, you want to share a little bit about some of these challenges?
Yeah, so we're kind of in this phase right now. So we went through that. We saw, it got pretty quiet when California shut down. And, but luckily for us, you know, we serve a market that is, people are out using their vehicles. And I think overall our industry is really, there's a desire for our product, and you can see that right now. People are at home working on their projects. So, and like with us, we just had that flood overnight. So yeah, we are working with less staff and trying to get more done. And I think it's just, you know, we're having to constantly, like, what's the most important thing that we're working on? And everyone's putting in a lot of time right now. We have overtime, and yeah, we have plenty to do. So we're working a lot right now.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster, right? First it was quiet, and now it's really busy. Rich, do you have any advice for companies facing this type of challenges?
Oh, absolutely. Ours has been a little different in that we've had to approach it differently because our business has never stopped. It's increased tremendously during this sheltering in place and this COVID. And one of the things that we tried to do, even just to promote sales throughout the industry, is we came up with a campaign, and I think they're going to show a slide here of what we were doing. And the idea was social distancing, check, just a person shifting, but obviously being in your vehicle, that's safe. And then to gearheads, really driving home the fact that, if you're an enthusiast and you want to get out and you are bored, go finish that project you've been talking about doing, and it has to be happening. And I say that because, as everyone probably knows, clutches are obviously in a sunsetting category. There's not as many vehicles made with clutches, but you'd never know that right now. It's unprecedented, the business that we have right now. So, just trying to appeal to that, and then using marketing tools like that slide, we give that to our customers, and they love it because they're using it to send out to their customers to use, to just drive that message home, and it's been very successful.
Thank you for sharing that, Rich. The next topic we have is, as schools begin to publish their fall plans, what are some of the recommended best practices for providing flexibility for employees with children? Lacey, you want to tell us a little bit about how DC is managing these scenarios?
Yeah, so for this right now, it's still pretty preliminary. We're hearing about the schedules right now from employees. And I think as a company, we're still in discussion phase about what that will look like, gathering information from other businesses and also internally with our employees to determine the impact. We're pretty fortunate and always have been pretty fortunate to have multiple schedules and multiple shifts. So people can really achieve that work-life balance through, in the past, it's been, daycare or going to school, or husband and wife working different hours in order to care for children, or whatever those work-life things might be. In order to balance that, we have offered different schedules, and that's really worked well for us. So I think as we figure out what those schedules are going to look like for our employees, we can better navigate that in the future.
Thank you, Lacey. What about you, Melanie? Do you have any plans for schools in California?
Just in our small little area here, too, there are so many different variations to school schedules. So it really then becomes just an individual basis, like how are we going to work through these challenges with the new schedules? And it's just case by case. And I think one of the biggest things right now is just learning to be flexible and not have anything be too rigid. So we're just working through it, and we'll see what it looks like for the fall here. I think it's going to be challenging, and I feel for parents. I mean, I'm a parent with a kid at home, an only child, so I'm really wanting him to be able to go back and socialize, but I know a lot of parents are kind of in that same boat. But we'll just have to take it day by day and work through the challenges, because I think, in California, what we're seeing is that a lot of schools are announcing that they'll go back, but then if there's a case, they're going to close. And what does that closure look like? And it's going to look like different for different schools. So yeah, just I feel like flexibility is the biggest thing that we are working at right now.
Thank you. Kim, you mentioned that you had already some measures in place for working from home. Are there any recommended best practices for those who are listening for providing flexibility for employees with children specifically?
I think what Melanie said, and maybe really everybody at some point on this call has said, it's a question of flexibility because people's needs are different, and you have to figure out what their specific needs are and try to work around those needs, depending on how old their children are. But I think the most important thing is to have your systems robust enough that they can work effectively from home. So I will tell you that if this had happened 2 years ago, it would have been a problem for us. We luckily got a whole new IT department, and we just said we're putting the best systems in we possibly can. We probably overdid it. And then this happened. And so, sometimes you're just lucky, but everybody was already set up for that. And I think that now the push is, we still had some sort of paperless systems approaches that could have been done and could be done with our system, and there's some people just didn't want to change. And now this is kind of forcing those changes that couldn't be done before, but probably could have been done. And so I think the good news about it is, at least for us, it's going to drive better processes that allow you to use the process rather than the person or the talking or the handing the document to somebody. And that allows you then to time shift, which is what we're really talking about, the work you do. So as long as you can manage someone for results rather than managing their time, which is also for a manager a different discipline, then I think you're okay. But you do have to manage for results. I'll tell you a crazy story though. We had one of our departments, I did meet him in person, but we hired a leader. The COVID hit, somebody reporting to me. He's never visited our facility. He's working. He's hired new employees whom he's never met over Zoom, who are in place working in the facility, and he's still never been there, and it's all working. So if you've got people that know what they're doing and you use your technology right, you do some crazy stuff.
Unbelievable. That is a crazy story, but it's a crazy times, right? Rich, do you want to share a little bit about that possible flexibility for when school comes back in the fall?
I would just echo really what you've heard here. We're very flexible, and you just need to be, and that's one of the things that we really foster here, is just that culture of the employee and their needs, and whatever they've got to get done, we can accommodate it for. Yeah, and kind of like Kim said, it's unprecedented, and the jury's still out on a lot of this. So, but yeah, no, we're being very flexible, and so far so good. Like Melanie said, the state of California, I think they just said yesterday, at least in LA County, they're going to do distance learning to the end of August. But as we all know, this could change in the next few minutes, because all of this is changing every few minutes. So
exactly. Well, and just as a side note for those who are listening, these are leadership in each of their companies. So depending on where you are within your company, just make sure you understand that communication can get a long way. These are leaders that are willing to help and willing to be flexible with all of their staff. So just communicate your particular needs, and that will be the best way to navigate through all of this. Next slide, please. And this is kind of like on the same tone. What have you learned about work-life balance through all of this? Personally, what has changed in your way to handle your personal and your professional aspect of your day-to-day? Melanie, I'll start with you.
So I think I did better before, honestly, with the work-life balance. There just have been a lot as a leader with different regulations and things like that have just caused me to spend more time looking at our business and learning new regulations and rules. So I wouldn't say that I'm really accomplishing some great work-life balance right now. But I think, you know, I'm close to the sequoias here in California. And one of the things is I really miss seeing all of my friends and, you know, doing our normal like social activities. So what we've done as a family is just kind of committed to getting up in the mountains and going hiking and doing something different other than just being at home all the time. So I think really if you can get out of your environment that you're kind of, I won't lie, I kind of feel stuck in it sometimes, but that has really helped kind of ground me lately. And I hope others are doing that as well. But we're all trying hard not to, you know, be too social. That it's a numbers game, so we're avoiding being around folks. So yeah, but there's on the trail, you don't run into a lot of people, or you can easily social distance.
That's right, being outdoors. What about you, Kim? Any work-life lessons from COVID?
Well, honestly, this is so funny. I've never had work-life balance, and it's probably because I didn't really want to. I really love what I do, and I grew up in an environment of 7x24 with my parents. It's kind of all I know. There's no off, but it doesn't mean there aren't things I like to do. When I'm more interested in you know, going on trips and traveling, and when I do that, I really am off. But when I'm working, my day doesn't end until I go to sleep. But I will say, for me, the inability to come back to my home and to my husband and to Connecticut between March and June was really hard, because that was a very long time to be there, go in every day, make that my life, and not have my family around me. So coming home now, and my operation guy was just amazing. He came and he said, Kim, I don't know, I mean, you're the CEO. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I just want you to know that you can go home, that I've got this. And I mean, talk about, Melanie, you said it, getting close to your people. I mean, it was such a wonderful thing he said to make me feel like I could leave and not be abandoning the company in what is a very, very difficult time. So I guess my life balance is I get to work really hard in Connecticut for a while. It makes me very happy.
That's great. What about you, Lacey? Any lessons from these times?
Yeah, so for me personally, I think it's really helped me to see, you know, what is important in my life, and also how to support the business, what's important, the perspective, renewed perspective and energy towards the projects, the tasks, and then at home, you know, we're all missing contact, we're missing friendships, we're missing things like that. So you have to get real creative. And still having that time. I hit some really big milestones personally, for myself, just with my education and all different sorts of things. And I had a lot planned for myself in 2020. And a lot of that kind of went to the wayside. So with all of that in mind, I kind of balanced that out by, you know, still working on personal development outside of work, and definitely trying to stay creative, whether it be listening to language classes, apps that way, or trying a new jewelry set, like creating jewelry, I should say, not like a set, but creating jewelry, or just being creative and using my creative mind on the side, as well as utilizing that within the business, and balancing that out with meeting the new needs that we have. My everyday at work is not the same as it was prior to COVID, as you guys probably all know. So I've really seen a lot of our leaders and a lot of our team really bond together through all of this and really step in and show up when things are necessary to get the work done.
Great. Rich, any lessons learned from these times?
Several. quite a few actually. But I would say kind of echo what you've heard already. I mean, it just realizing how much we actually have, how blessed we are, and just that we have so much that, we're so fortunate that when you look around, there's a lot of excess in our lives that I personally been able to kind of clean up. And, like Kim, I'm the same way. I'm just constantly working, and it's hard to turn off sometimes, but I have made myself, shut down at a certain time. I've regulated myself better on sleep time. There's nothing better for your immune system than to have a standard sleep time, and that means not looking at computer screens, not looking at phones before bedtime. Really, I guess having good, they call it sleep hygiene. Having good sleep hygiene, and so for me, I'll just pick a book up and start reading a book. And it's sleepy time. I could get to the end of the page and not even know what I just read and go, all right, it's 9 o'clock. So that for me has been a wonderful difference. But I can't believe how much I can get done when I'm working from home and I'm not interrupted, and I don't interrupt myself. So it's a little bit of both.
Great. That's great. Thank you all for sharing all those details. And now we're going to start taking some questions from our audience today. And yes, if you haven't submitted a question, you can do so on the question tab. The first question we're going to take in today is, what do you have in place to understand employee productivity while they're working from home? This is very important. I think, Rich, you mentioned that you had some measurements in place. Do you want to share that a little bit?
Yeah, so our IT director put together software some time ago. It's called Soft Activity is actually the name of it. I get nothing for saying that, so it's not sponsored. But it is a program that basically records everything we do on our computers. And so the nice thing about it is anything that someone's looking at that is live, you can see the activity. And where it's kind of helped us is we've had a few employees where when we hire people, we say, look, if we have to listen and look at things, we have the wrong people. But obviously these circumstances are different, and we want to be accountable. We want to be transparent in all things. So we found some employees where we had to go, hey, you know what? You're jumping around a lot, because because they were home, every little thing that happened, they'd stop doing this and they'd start doing this. And they had 100 things open and they weren't finishing anything, right? So it was actually a chance to go, hey, you need to kind of prioritize your day. We can see you're frustrated. And we can tie that also to the phone calls and phone recordings. And when you put that whole thing together with a program like that, you'll see all of the activity and you'll see the productivity too. And a thing to keep in mind, even if you don't have that, is as a good manager, you're going to know that things are getting done just by the business alone. Does it pass the sniff test, right? Those are the kind of things that we have to look for when we're managing. So, but that's been successful for us to have that kind of software. And honestly, I hate it with a capital H. I don't hate anything, but I hate that. It's time consuming. And you can reconstruct someone's day, but it's better to just do it in real time. Like every half hour, just kind of like, I'll sweep, how's it going? And then there'll be times that I don't look at all because I know everything is going well, but sometimes you can hear it in people's voices, or you can watch certain productivity go down, and then you can have those talks with them. But it's not one of my favorite things to do ever. I really have a love-hate relationship with it.
Let's see. Kim, well, go ahead, Melanie. You have something you want to share?
Oh, I would just say having clear, we just had clear objectives and clear goals and I think once we were hitting those, you could see that everyone was working, and that's really like whatever time it takes you to get those, like as long as we're hitting those and have those clear measurements, that's what matters. So that's what we don't have any fancy software. Like like Rich, but we do have those measurements that we discuss weekly to make sure we're on target.
Kim, you mentioned that managers had to change a little bit, instead of managing time, managing tasks. You want to tell us a little bit more about, how can we make that happen?
Well, I think I think it takes a certain skill, but I also think you really need to know what you're doing if you're going to, it's harder in a way, if you don't know what you're doing to manage, I won't even say tasks, I will say results. You have to be very clear on your area of expertise and what you want done and what can be done and how long it should take to do it. And if you have confidence in that, then it's very easy to manage results. If you're in a job where you're not that comfortable in any of those areas, then you start to try to manage the employee or the tasks or the time. And so I think it starts with really good leadership and knowledgeable leadership. And the next thing, if you're not doing that, is a lot of communication. The funniest thing, though, in our business, there's a DNA at Magnuson. And it's like, if somebody really isn't doing their share, believe me, everybody in the building knows it. They know who the person is who isn't doing their share, because most of the people there really care about the business and they're working really, really hard. And they kind of resent somebody who they feel isn't. And so there's really no place to hide at Magnuson if you're not pulling a full load. But we do, like Melanie said, have targets that are different. We have deadlines we're a technology-based business, so we have deadlines for our engineering staff, and then that drives the deadlines and the opportunities for the sales staff. And we do use Teams, so that helps to plan.
That's awesome. We have a next question. We're running out of time. Rich, you have one last comment?
Yeah, I'm really curious with the group. One of the things that we did run into that we didn't cover about working remotely is the people that were at the factory. There was this illusion that, boy, it must be nice to work from home and kick back all day. And, I wondered if anybody else had some of that. We had to really deal with that from a morale standpoint. And that's where I was glad that I was able to speak to that. But yeah, it's that perception of, are they there? Are they doing stuff? But the orders are coming in and everything's happening. So obviously people are working, and you just have to use logic, like what Melanie said.
Go ahead, Kim.
So before COVID, because we were very distributed and a lot of people were working from home, we had tremendous issues in that regard. And it's been going on for years. This issue, if you're not there, you're not working. And when COVID hit, it turned around and nobody had an issue anymore. It was bizarre in a way, but that ended that discussion. Go figure.
That's great. Some of the benefits, everybody's gotta figure out a way to come out stronger on the other end of this, right? We have another question, and it's, how do we begin re-engaging our customers in person? Lacey, do you have any rep companies that you work with that perhaps visit your customers? From an HR standpoint, do you know how any ETAs?
I am not for certain. I will say that I think each business is kind of handling this separately, and they have different processes. They're all pretty similar, but customers do come first. So, I'm not quite sure yet. Do you have any recommendations? Maybe Rich or Melanie?
Yes, Melanie.
I think this has been a big topic, right? Like how are we going to approach being in person again, and do our customers want us to come in? So it's been like this really kind of touchy subject of, not touchy, just we have to be careful, right? I have a girlfriend in a whole different industry, but she was saying we have to work on, we have never had to work on consent like we do right now. We just have to have the conversation of, are you comfortable with me coming in? I will be wearing a mask. You know, I'm going to follow these guidelines, and are you okay with that? You know, so I think it's just this like kind of tricky subject of you just have to navigate that conversation. And I think, you know, I recently got to see customers. I love to see my customers, and it's been rough not being able to travel and see them. And you know, I reached out ahead of time and I said, these are the things that I'm going to do, but if you are not comfortable, it is no hard feelings. You know, I just had to put that out there first. But you know, it's risky too. Like I think it's, if we're going to make the trip, we have to be careful, and we have to be conscious of all of the recommendations and the guidelines, because you know, we need to do our part. So it's just a balance between that of like being there to support our customers and do our part to help keep things under control. And then I think Rich has something to add.
Yeah, no, Melanie and I have talked about this before too. And, you know, one of the issues is we had someone that wanted to go out to an event that they were doing. And so we let them go to this event. But here's the difficulty in that is I can't afford to get, nor would I want to get anybody sick. But what we had to do is make that person work from home for 2 weeks just to make sure, because you just have no idea who you're meeting and or how things are being handled. And we want to, even if they're being super careful, you know, and you're traveling, you know, you have to just do that. And I think that's tough for all of us. And it's tough to make decisions to say, you know what, I think it'd be better if you don't go to that right now, because, you know, I can't afford to have a whole staff be out for 2 weeks. And if I do, I got to make sure it's the right mix of people that can work remote, right? So that was, you know, the thing that we're hearing. And really, to what Lacey said, it's just, it depends on the customers. It depends on, most of them, you know, don't want to have us there. And but one of the successful things is being able to use Zoom and have these face-to-face meetings with them. It's really changed the dynamic. I can be in a room with 4 executives and get a lot of work done, and we're on a face-to-face like this right here, and it's fantastic. It invigorates them because, you know, they're bored too. A lot of them are working from home and they want to just get stuff done. So trying to use it for the good stuff. This new Roaring 20s has not been so roaring so far.
All right, we have one last question. It says, are you struggling with keeping up the morale with the disconnect that comes with physical separation? A lot of the staff, you know, socializes at work, so it can hurt the morale. Anybody wants to take this question? Rich, I'm gonna call on you. Oh, Melanie, thank you.
So our team, you know, we have a close team and everyone wants to do high fives and check in with each other. And it's been really hard to ask people to, or not just, we have to request that everyone keeps the social distance. You can't do the high fives. Like, it's just, it's definitely a shift because it's important. You know, we just have a close team. So we've been having to ask people to change a lot of their habits, which is frustrating, but it's definitely necessary.
Yes, Rich.
So one of the things we did is we put Lexan around all of the cubicles where people are working. We put tape down where you can stand and where you can address people. But that's a great question, because I have to say, when our team was out, they said that the energy level of the building and the morale was just like, it's very different. You know, people will say, oh, the sales department's so loud. Well, we're supposed to be. You know, sales is one of those things where anybody that's listening right now knows that it's one of the hardest jobs, because you're the face. You're the one that's getting beat up all the time, whether it's late shipments, missed shipments, or you know, when are you going to finally release that product? Those kinds of things. We're getting beat up, technical problems with, product. So it needs to be the loudest, it needs to be the funnest, it needs to have energy. And without that, that was something that has been missing. So that has been one of the perks of getting back in here is seeing everybody. But like to what Melanie said, I'm behind glass, I'm behind Lexand, I'm standing on my marker for the tape, looking down and making sure that I'm distanced from people.
Yes, definitely things are changing, and some of the takeaways are being flexible, keeping those lines of communication open, and just having an open mind to adjust what's happening. The leaders are there to help you. SEMA is there to help you, and I want to thank our panelists for sharing their individual insights with us today. And thank you to all who attended. We hope you found value in today's discussion and you're walking away with a few things that you can apply to your own business. SEMA will be hosting a number of these industry talks in the weeks to come, and you can learn more at sema.org/reopen. SEMA also has a lot of resources for you at sema.org/corona-updates. And if you're interested in learning more about the SBN, you can visit sema.org/SBN and take advantage of all the resources and opportunities that we provide to promote women in the industry. Thank you so much, Rich, Melanie, Kim, Lacey, for your time. We really, really appreciate everything that you do for SEMA and for the industry. I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all soon.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It was fun to be a part of it. Thank you.
Take care. Stay safe, guys. Bye.